In the beginning there was one source, and all creation came from the source, like light from the sun. And like the light from the sun, all creation was one, but it was also many. Just like the light from the sun is not just white, but also a rainbow, so too was there great diversity among the threads that made up creation. And each different thread saw the source differently, and there was great richness in the psalm that was sung to the source, with the very vibrancy of being. But just as there was diversity, so too was there similarity. And so some similarities grew together in their resonance, and some threads became stronger, and their songs came to dominate as they bent other voices of other threads to sing with them identically. This is the song of the source, these threads said, full to bursting with the resonance of so many voices and drunk on the power this gave them. This is the song of the source, and no other. And so these songs of many voices competed with each other, each trying to steal away individual threads from their individual songs and from each other. Perhaps each of these powerful threads believed that their song was the only song, or perhaps they were driven mad by the need for more voices and more power. Either way, the harmony of creation was fragmented, and as the strongest songs of the source competed with each other, many songs were lost, some drowned out by the volume of the songs of sameness, and their battles over difference, and some turning to the songs of sameness out of fear for the discord of their competition causing their own songs to be lost, unable to harmonize. And so the true song of the source, which was the light of every song singing together in harmony, was lost to creation. And so creation continued to grow in beauty, but a veil was pulled over the source, a veil of perception, like a prism in front of the sun, eternally breaking up the light of creation. And the source saw all of this, and the source sang that it was injustice. But the source sang free will, and so the veil was a thing of beauty in source's eyes, for the injustice was a product of its children, even as the injustice of the veil was a thing of sadness, preventing them from seeing source in all its glory. Because I have sung free will into you, sang source, there is always a way to me, even through the challenge of injustice you sing, whatever the injustice may be. You can dance together to make the prismatic veil a thing of beauty. You can be harmony and paradox, a white light rainbow. You must but find harmonies within your competing voices again, and all shall be well. Songs within songs, and a multitude of individual dances with the choir of different voices, all leading the way to me. But so caught up were they in their competition that few, oh so few, listened for a very long time. Time changes all threads, though, and as the world turned, a new dimension of creation was born out of the songs of the threads, for there were many songs within the song of source, not just songs to the source. And this new song was a song of new mediums to sing in. The world grew smaller as communication grew easier, and the songs of ideas were more easily shared. Within the communities of the strong songs, there had been isolation to maintain the power of the loudest singers for years, but this was beginning to change. Threads began to hear the songs of others, and thereby rediscover their own songs again. And it is into this changing world that we are born, hearing the song of the source in so many voices and seeing the light fragmented into so many forms, like so many others, drawn to the beauty of the rainbow. We hear the source sing of harmony and paradox, and so we seek and grow and change and come together in new ways that defy the power-holding songs and corresponding groups of loudest singers. I remember the time that I first realized this power that we have to come together in harmony, and the way this can empower us to face social injustice together, strengthened by our differences. I was 15, and I had been accepted into a summer program called the Summer Residential Governor's School for Visual and Performing Arts. That word residential was key. For many of us, this was the first time we had stayed away from home with new people for so long. We were a gathering of incredibly bright and creative children drawn from very diverse backgrounds with a broad range of talents and strengths. But we were also just teenagers, still finding ourselves and our place in the world and figuring out how to interact with each other. Inevitably, cliques formed as well as friendships, And this is where I first learned that by making many friends from different cliques, new groups of people can be born. I was the one who went between every silly teenage group that grew together within their similarities, and loved and was loved by them all. And as I proposed this adventure or that with my diverse friends, I watched new friendships being born. And this gave me an idea. Within this overarching community of creative people, we were encouraged to see ourselves as creating our own little society and given the tools we needed to manifest what we wanted for this society within reason. I was missing church, as it was something I had previously had to enrich my life every Sunday. More specifically, I was missing praise and worship. Perhaps my perspective was initially influenced by the fact that I had sung in choir since I was a little boy, but in my experience making friends here I had noticed that people come together over what they have in common, and everyone could appreciate praise and worship. So I did some advertising and held a meeting to propose my idea, a weekly interfaith gathering to do praise and worship. The initial turnout to the interest meeting wasn't huge, only 10 people or so, but I wasn't fazed. It was still enough to get the group started, and those who had showed up were just as excited about the idea as I was. But then something unusual happened. I had been shaping this with the intent of making it Christian, since, although my own personal beliefs were beginning to grow beyond this, Christianity was what I was familiar with. And at that point I still thought of myself as Christian. And only Christians had attended the interest meeting, though admittedly we had people from Catholics to Southern Baptists there, and that seemed like encouraging diversity to me. But the very next night, a few of my non-Christian friends that I had made had asked to eat dinner with me, 2 Jews and 3 pagans. They expressed an interest in the idea of an interfaith gathering to worship too, but a concern that they wouldn't be welcome. They shared that they too were missing an element of spirituality here and wondered if we could find a way to include them. At the previous meeting, a few friends had volunteered to help me organize this, most especially in terms of gathering music and having a guitarist and printing lyrics, etc. So, together with one of my non-Christian friends who also volunteered to help lead, we had a third meeting less than a week before our first gathering, and we went over all the music and carefully selected some songs which were inclusive rather than exclusive, and changed some of the language as well. When we were done, we had a selection of material that represented Christianity, Judaism, and also non-specific worship of spirit. The day of our first gathering dawned, and I was very nervous. I didn't know how many people would show up and if they would be okay worshiping side by side with people whose beliefs were so different. But the turnout was amazing. We had over 60 people, more than we had lyrics printed out for. And once we began to sing, everything just flowed as if I had written it out in a script, despite pretty much winging it. It was amazing, and everyone came together with a unity I had never seen, even in my own church. The spiritual communion was palpable, and it culminated in what I can only describe as a miraculous manifestation of this communion. After we had completed our set of songs, not knowing what else to do, I closed the gathering with words that are habitual to someone raised in the Anglican tradition. Peace be with you. And everyone, every single person, responded in unison without hesitation, and also with you. Peace be with you, and also with you. Considering that the number of people in the gathering whose liturgies would use those exact words was less than 10%, to have everyone respond with, and also with you, in one voice was one of the most powerful signs of divine presence that I have ever witnessed. And I consider it to be such a powerful sign because to come together and worship and praise, regardless of the specifics of one's faith, is an indirect way to combat the injustice of powerful religious institutions that in this world create division amongst people by the use of dogma. But even that division is but a reflection of the great social injustice that occurs as a result of power structures in society across the planet. To gather together and worship despite our differences is a start, but it is merely the first step. Once we have gathered together, we need a purpose beyond just praise and worship. We need to be active in the context of our harmony. We need to promote peace. Not the peace of a European ethical system based on maintaining social order and not upsetting the status quo, but a peace that is an active pursuit of harmony that allows every individual to benefit to his or her maximum potential that isn't at the expense of others. There is a difference between a song to the source and the song of the source. It is all of us, singing all of our songs of self together in harmony, sharing our similarities and celebrating our differences that sing the song of the source. We need to be the white light rainbow.